because I failed to do what's required from me every day, which is to deposit into my skill set, deposit into my mindset, deposit into my health, deposit into my family, into my marriage. So as things started progressing upward, my marriage was falling apart. I had no connection with my daughters. Welcome to another episode of Mindset Mastery. I'm your host, Araujo, and I want to thank you for jumping on the call today. And I have a few things that I want to cover, and I'm going to go ahead and start this one with the same thing that I remind you often, right, is to make sure that we're on our game, that we can win the day, that we have the appropriate steps that we can take throughout the day to make sure that we're one up on where we want to go and one up on the competition. I mean, I know we shouldn't worry too much about the competition, but realizing that there's some people out there that are never going to stop should be something that motivates you. It should be something that inspires you. And it should be something that kind of puts that chip on your shoulder, right? And I was talking to one of our top performers yesterday, and we were talking about the changing markets, right? And we all know it's changing. Values are declining in real estate, just like they have, not at the same level, but we all heard about the crypto market, right? About that whole industry and about that investment strategy. And I was just reading some articles, and there was $2 trillion lost. I mean, that's a lot of money, right? And that's just one segment. The stock market went down $7 trillion. So it tells me what goes up must go down. But I guess we don't see the personal stories behind these numbers, right? Just like when we see these murder rates in the U.S., we don't really personalize it because it's just something outside of us. But there's many people being affected by these things, right? The tragedies, the economy. And, there was a lot of this one particular article was talking about how these young millionaires, someone that was worth just a few months ago, $4 million are now worth $10,000, right? It's just gone that bad. And it gets me to the point of, sometimes our eyes deceive us. Sometimes we just see the end result, but not what it means to get there. And getting the result does not necessarily mean that it's always going to be that way. And I even put out a short clip. If you haven't watched it, go back into our Empire group about the people that were on the grind the last few months are the ones that are really benefiting right now, right? Because they were inspired. They were inspired by many of the people that got the results 6 months ago, where they saw their vacations, they saw the dinners they went on, they saw the money they were spending, the cars they were driving, the house they were living in, and they got inspired. And now they're really benefiting even in a down market, what people would consider a down market, while others that were celebrating a little too much are now finding themselves struggling or not closing as many deals as they were before. But here's what happens. Those individuals that are benefiting right now and maybe going to those dinners and those vacations, they're going to struggle in 6 months if they don't change their perception of how the game of business works. And that is, you always got to stay on your game. Over celebrating is too easy. Anyone can do that, right? Over celebrating is very addicting. And we have to realize that as small business owners, we can never let up. And that's one thing that we were having that discussion yesterday. I was like, man, I still have this fear within me. Like, I cannot stop. And I had that same fear when things are going really good or things are not as progressing as nicely as I would like to. But with all these trillions of dollars lost and millionaires becoming 10,000aires, and people getting, afraid of the market, it's amazing what skill sets and mindsets do, because I haven't felt the burden of that. In fact, things are still progressing nicely, and there's a lot of top players right now that are taking advantage of the market, taking advantage of the hesitation that the competition is facing. This is where they're striking. They're going even harder, right? They don't have time to retract. They don't have time to hesitate. They just keep making those moves, and they're adapting quickly. And this is where we need to be. So if you were those individuals that might have invested in crypto, might have invested in the stock market, might have bought an Airbnb or two, because that whole rental space is also declining, you're going to feel the pinch. And what I want to remind you is, we can't just focus on the end result of someone else. We got to be able to look at what it took to get there. And there's certain skill sets that are required that everyone must acquire. And there are certain lessons that everyone must learn in order to sustain that result. Because I've been there before, right when I got into the real estate industry, it seems like my business just took off. And from there, I started doing flip properties. And then I started doing infill projects where we would build a house from scratch in the middle of a neighborhood. So the money was coming fast, but easy come, easy go, right? Fast money is just exactly that. It's fast and it's nice, but I was just riding certain waves. So as fast as it came through, that's how fast I lost it. Because I failed to do what's required from me every day, which is to deposit into my skill set, deposit into my mindset, deposit into my health, deposit into my family, into my marriage. So as things started progressing upward, my marriage was falling apart. I had no connection with my daughters. And sustainability requires massive amounts of skill sets, a massive amount of capacity. It's a different level altogether. Because when money's good, it covers a lot of the problems, right? It colors a lot of the problems. The marriage ain't so bad. Well, we'll just take this vacation. We could afford it. Things are not so good. Let's just go on this expensive date night. But it's when things start regressing, right? When the funds are not there as much and you're put under that burden, under that pressure, how do you respond at that point? Now the problems that you had in your marriage become fully exposed. The problems that you had in your business are now staring at you in your face. You don't have systems. You don't have processes. You don't have a follow-up strategy. All you had was that hustle mindset, and that's cool. But it's building capacity. It's building skill set. It's understanding that it is your responsibility to find a solution to a problem. And we forget these things when things are going too well, right? Like crypto, 2 trillion, stock market, 7 trillion. Demand is down. And people are looking for the easy, right? They're looking for the easy result. They see all these TikTokers and Instagram influencers making all this money. And it's like, well, if I get a million views, then I'll make it. I had one TikTok video go viral. It doesn't mean I have more money in my pocket. There were 0 revenues added to my pocket. So I know it's real easy to showcase the glitz and the glamour. But what does it take? What kind of skill sets does it require for you to operate at that level long term? There's a skill set to make that money, and there's a different level of skill set required and needed to sustain that lifestyle. And this is my job to remind you that the work is not done. Now, I also hear the exact opposite of what I'm saying, right? Where individuals say, well, I'm taking personal responsibility, AZ. I messed up. You know, things are bad. I know my marriage is not where it needs to be. I gained 50 pounds. My business is struggling. I'm taking full responsibility. But that self-responsibility turns into self-pity. And there was a quote that I saw come through that somebody tagged me on, and I put in the 12-week target book. If you wake up with self-pity, you will have nothing. Just because you take responsibility doesn't mean that things are all good now. It's like, what are you going to do about it? I get it. Bad investments, awesome. I know there's some individuals stuck with some properties. Okay, cool. What are you going to do about it? But understand that in order to get success, there's certain skill sets we must build. There's certain lessons we must learn. And you'll notice some individuals, let's say there was 100 steps to making $100,000, right? A year. There's some individuals that will jump from step number 1 to 99 and make that 100 or 200 or 500, whatever that is. There's certain steps, there's certain lessons, there's certain capacity you must build. And I understand the lure of getting there really, really fast and then being like overwhelmed by the disappointment of not getting there fast enough. My results are 18 years in the game. My body are years of hard work. My marriage of 19 years took many, many years of getting it to where it's at. And I understand the lure of just looking at the end result, but what did it take to get there? And many people are learning those lessons where they skipped steps number, 5 through 99. Guess what's happening right now? Just like that millionaire that went from $4 million to $10,000, he's going to have to learn those lessons all over. Because you can skip it, but it won't sustain. But when you learn to win on a daily basis, by investing in your skill set, your mindset, your infrastructure, regardless of what the market does, you will always stay ahead. Because what goes up must come down. But skill sets and mindset weather any storm. They're the first ones to get out of the market. People who got caught with their pants down are those that are newer to the Bitcoin game. Because just like so many people lost money, there's some that made out like bandits. And just like trillions were lost in the stock market, there was many that made out like bandits. Warren Buffett, I'm sure he's not struggling right now. That dude is just watching all of us. He's like giggling. He's like, thank you. I'll take that bag. And I'm seeing our veteran agents that know how to flip properties making out like bandits. But they didn't forget the foundation of what a real business is. Skill sets, infrastructure, personnel, processes. They didn't forget that. And what tends to happen in the search for fast money, our eyes get off the path we were supposed to go on and into the result, which is in a different path altogether. So they stop doing what they're supposed to do in the primary business and start putting it somewhere else. The focus is lost. And I'm not saying there's not opportunity for mailbox money or a side hustle, but you can look at that when you have your business in line. But if you don't have any systems or processes, any routines, you haven't developed your skill sets, your business is still essentially functioning the same way it did in 2018, like quit looking for the side hustle. Focus on building that. And I see this time and time again. Something works in the primary business, they make some money, and then they go invest in a side hustle. Not only to invest that money, but that side hustle now becomes the primary hustle, and the primary business starts falling apart. And they didn't realize that the side hustle was only temporary, short term. So we just got to get focused on what we must do. And I'm not saying this again to make you feel bad. What I'm saying is we got to wake up. And right now it's about the grind. If I were to, for me to enjoy what I enjoy now, it took many years of sacrifice. When I was 7 figures in debt and in tax problems and lawsuits, do you think I was looking for vacations? Do you think I was looking for reprieve? Or the fast money? No, I knew it was the grind. And we went 5 years with no vacation. 5 years. Some of you barely got into this game. 2 years, and you're just celebrating like you built something great. We got to stop that mindset. I'm not saying don't celebrate. I'm not saying you shouldn't, enjoy the fruits of your labor. What I'm saying is you're still in the infant stages of a business. Anything under 5 years, you're still infant, still learning. I want you guys to win long term. I'm not saying this to discourage you. I'm saying build something great. Where else could that money go? It's not for celebratory reasons. It's for personnel and systems and employees. Things are going to hold you accountable. Because when you're in an infant stage, you leave out of town, it's not only the money you spent out there, but also the money you lost because no one's here to take over for you. Your marketing stops. There's no people following up. You have no infrastructure. So that $5,000 vacation now became a $15,000 vacation because now you lost a lot of money over here because you weren't around. You lost that one deal. So you build capacity by building consistency, by building discipline. And that's all I'm saying. Build discipline over a long term. Everything you want and desire is on the backside of that. Do that every day. You'll get the body you've always wanted. You'll get the marriage you always desired. You'll have the relationships with your kids that you've always planned for. And you'll have the money in your bank account like you always dreamt of. I'm going hard. And this is where I love it. You're going to see this company rise in massive ways. And I want you to come along. So let's put intention and focus and realize that we just have to win today. And we do that over and over and over again. Let's stop with the withdrawals, all right? Quit withdrawing from your business. Let's put that money back in so we can let it compound, right? And really see the outcomes of your labor long term. There's going to be many agents that are washed out because they couldn't make it on a good market. They were complaining about how it's so hard and they would like more listings. And now that they have more listings, they're like, I wish I had buyers. It's like, dude, all you want really is easy. Stop looking for easy. Start looking for better. Better yourself. How do you overcome not being able to put your client under contract? That requires skill sets. That requires communication with your client. So stop the easy part. Okay? Just a few months ago, how many of you were saying, I wish I had more sellers? Now you got them. Cool. Now what are you going to do about it? Some of you even said, I heard you in conversation, I don't want to work with buyers anymore. Now you wish you had buyers. It's like, dude, just build the skill sets. Do that. And there's one way we've done that, and it's through the 12-week target book. That's all I do. Woke up at 4:45. I'm not saying that that's what you need to do, but I'm doing the same things that I do in an up market and a down market. Is I take care of myself first and foremost. That's it. And I try to push my awareness factor, right? Being aware of what I'm doing, what's positive, what's going to put me in the right direction of more of the fruit that I want versus those that are not. And the self-pity, some people call it self-responsibility. It's not. Self-pity, that's on the downhill. I commend you for taking responsibility. That's awesome. Yeah, you screwed a lot of things up. Now what? What are you going to do about it? Let's go there. Guys, I want to thank you for joining me for another episode of Mindset Mastery. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye now. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Badass Agents Podcast, brought to you by AZ & Associates and Do the Work Coaching and Consulting. You can watch this and other episodes by subscribing to our channel on YouTube or by visiting us directly at badassagents.com. And of course, you can listen to this episode and many others on your preferred podcast provider.